走り出せ走り出せ空高く鳩と差し
Hi guys, it's Wasabifold here with another One Piece video for you, and today we're going to be discussing the most recent chapter of One Piece, chapter 840, where we learned some very interesting things, and I want to speak on the implications of what we learned going forward into the series, but as well as for the particular character itself, Sanji. It's always been a question mark, and I guess you always have to just trust in Oda as to how Sanji would be able to keep up in physicality. With what he might be required to do at the end of the series. We always expect that he would have fought Kizaru. But when you look at it realistically, is there any way that someone with just superhuman speed could keep up with a character like... I know, you're going to tell me about Dragon Ball, but let's be honest, Dragon Ball's speed is determined by their ki. We don't have anything like that in One Piece that can be used as an energy source to make a character go faster. And it's always been a question mark how Sanji would actually fight against Kizaru. The best answer we had was that, he'd be able to just use color of observation haki to such a high level that he could completely predict Kizaru's light speed movements and be in the correct position every single time to defend against them. But at the same time, when you think about it, precognition can only take you so far. If he could predict, where Kizaru would move at light speed in the next instant and change his body around to block it, he would have to be in position before Kizaru even moved, and Kizaru would completely just change his strategy and go a different way. How would he be able to keep up with a character at light speed unless he had speed that was comparable to him in some way? Even if he's not light speed, maybe relativistic, but how can a body withstand that? Because a body at that speed would probably just rip itself apart long before that. That's the limitations of the fact that Sanji being a human being. And of course the other limitation that he doesn't want to use his hands in fighting. So here you have a character who's physically, putting himself at disadvantages against the rest of the One Piece world. He doesn't have the height or size of the other super strength monsters in the One Piece world, such as Whitebeard and Blackbeard. These guys have a ton of strength. They're all 20 feet tall and whatnot, and that allows them to have a ridiculous amount of physical strength that a normal human being wouldn't have. Even though they're superhuman by definition, Oda likes to use their size to also increase that. Sanji's not going to have that. He's not going to be growing to such a high level simply because he's the main character, and all the main characters are going to stay reasonably human size because it helps the audience to identify with them and relate to them easier. Well, the villains will be larger and more imposing. It's a choice by Oda. So I begin to question how would he actually be able to do this, and by this chapter I think Oda has opened up the possibilities and the implications for Sanji going forward, that he will be capable of doing things that a normal body would not be capable of doing. And this actually helps my theory about Sanji using the vibrational martial arts of the Happo Navy, Hasshoken, as a new way to ignite Diablo Jambo. That still sounds extremely dangerous, and back then you begin to question if he would be able to do that without ripping his body apart. But here we now have an explanation, a stamp that we can place on Sanji's abilities going forward. He's genetically modified, and being genetically modified will just help him out in terms of doing the crazy things that he's going to need to be doing in the end of the series. I think Oda has pretty much done the only thing possible when it comes to Sanji that would explain his power-ups going forward, because I think it was needed. It was needed. For a long time, Sanji looked like he could have potentially had an upper ceiling that he probably could not cross, because no matter how strong he got, he was still only human, and you can only do so much with the body. But now that he's genetically modified and there was this talk about this outer skeleton, I do think that Sanji is going to gain a power up that is going to put him Zoro level. I do think he's not Zoro level right now. He's given me no reason to believe he is, and I do think he's going to give us a power up that's going to put him back on Zoro level. And it's going to please the Sanji fans. This is called the Year of Sanji, and that's perfectly fine. Oda likes to keep his characters that he set out pretty equal in strength. So I'd be really happy to see these power-ups for Sanji. But let's talk about the implications worldwide. What the German are doing also speak more to what the world government could do. Because we know that Vegapunk has the capabilities of doing this experimentation. And the more we listen, Vegapunk really comes across as probably a morally gray character, more interested in the science and doing it than actually worried about the implications of creating these things. Because he does seem to create weapons and things for the government quite a bit, but at the same time, we learned that he has a dream on his island to do some kind of heating system for them, and he's just looking for funding. So clearly this character is not all heartless, but it does appear like he is, driven by his own genius to create, what his mind can imagine, and he's not necessarily so worried about what that could actually mean. But clearly the government wanted to monopolize this technology. I don't believe for a second that they arrested him because they don't think that a man should have it. They arrested him because they wanted him to do genetic modification on their soldiers. And that's how we have the Pacifista project. Now we know, Vegapunk cloned Kuma. He has the capability to do it. That's what the government is doing. They're cloning characters. So we could see armies of other characters. We could see giantification very soon. It seems like Vegapunk could be the complete source for the eventual power-up of the world government, so that they can face down what we expect to be the ancient weapons and the entire pirate world and revolutionaries at the end. They are going to be upping their power significantly. And I can see a lot of characters getting boosts. Can you imagine them genetically modifying the admirals? I mean, from the point that they're at right now, that would be insane. They would become super broken characters. So this is something that speaks more again towards Final War. I'm expecting some really big crazy things to happen during Final War. I'm expecting One Piece to reach some incredible levels, and it's all because of this genetic modification. Now that it has entered the story, the possibilities really are limitless. And I really do look forward to what's to come. So this chapter, I really liked what was developed here. I'm going to touch on one thing, Reiju and her supposed niceness towards Sanji. Yeah, okay, I'm a little disappointed in that because I wanted her to actually be evil. Because I like when I didn't want her to be Robin. Her behavior was so reminiscent of Robin, the person on the evil side who might not be pure evil. It was just too obvious, and Oda did it again. I guess Oda just can't really go all the way with a female character like that. I really hope he can eventually. He really does have a soft spot for female characters, but there's still time left in the series. I hope we get some really evil, powerful female characters. Currently, we probably only have like Katarina Devon, and we haven't really seen anything from her. So, thank you guys for listening. I just wanted to give my thoughts on that particular plot point. I don't do full chapter reviews. There's no real reason to go through the chapter. You read it, I read it. I would just give my thoughts on things that speak to me and stood out to me. So thank you guys for listening. This is Wasabifold here, signing out, and there should be another video coming up shortly.